See what you made me do? Shout out to old Jews and old rules. New blacks with new stacks. I already been the king.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Communication Corner. I'm your host for tonight, Gail Lewis, and I'm excited to have my guest with me here on Communication Corner tonight. As you loyal viewers know, we've had lots of different types of guests here on Communication Corner. Everyone from authors to bloggers to politicians and everything in between. But I can honestly say we have never, in the history of Communication Corner, had a culture creator share the set with me. That is, until tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce culture creator Syreeta Gates. Good evening, Syreeta.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm amazing. And yourself?
I'm well, thank
Good,
you.
good.
Thank you so much for joining me on Communication Corner.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
And now it's culture creator.
Yes.
So first question, out of the box. Define that for us. What is a culture creator?
Absolutely. A culture creator is someone who not only creates their own lane, but improves the quality of life in society.
Mm-hmm. Their own lane, you mean like when people say stay in your lane, with the path that you're on?
Something like that. It's kind of like, you know, when Jay-Z has said, HOV, I made my own lane already.
Right.
So a space in the world in which no one is there but you. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like
that's what you do.
Culture creating. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You create spaces.
I create spaces.
And what do you fill them with?
I filled them with History Meets Hip Hop, a magazine called The Score, in which it's all about creating an impact. I filled them with The Sweet Life. I filled them with Just Because, a variety of different mediums and spaces.
So how did you get to the point where you describe yourself as culture creator?
How I got to that point, I remember running a program, I think maybe when I was 19, and my friend called me to run this program, and the program was called Ministers of Culture. Mm-hmm. And the Minister of Culture for the Black Panther Party was a guy named Emory Douglas.
Right.
So we literally had to study how culture was created, and I had to facilitate that. So I was like, oh yeah, young people, I feel like we create culture consistently. Mm-hmm. So I just took on the title Culture Creator because that's what we do.
And how? How do young people consistently create culture?
Absolutely. We have made the term swag important. And
for those viewers who may not know what swagging is,
swagging is, you know, it's how you move through the world. Yeah, so we've made like something like swag cool. We've made Jordan sneakers consistently relevant for the last 20 odd years. We've took mediums like YouTube and completely blew it out the water. Instagram, you know, we have all of these tools and we constantly create on them. So that's a way that not only that we create culture, but we consistently create it on a regular basis. So every day we're pushing out new material, new art, new music, new something. So yeah.
And is that both using technology and not using technology?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have young people who are artists, right? And they might not put their art on any social media channels at all, but they might have events in which people go to and can participate in that. Or like a good friend of mine, he has an event every month called Paint and Poetry.
And what's that?
So Paint and Poetry is literally a space in which it's filled with art, and he invites poets and MCs and artists to come and perform. Okay. And he
While surrounded by other medium of art.
Absolutely. He gets like 150, 200 young people consistently every month.
I love that.
So he's creating culture.
Let's take a step back to how you became a culture creator.
Yes.
You're from Queens.
I am.
Where?
Jamaica, Queens.
Where in Jamaica? You know, you've got to get really specific on this show. Jamaica's a wide and vast place.
Indeed, indeed.
It has its own international airport.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I'm from Rochdale.
Okay.
Rochdale.
What building?
Oh,
we'll keep that to ourselves. You'll tell me after the show.
Indeed.
But okay, so you're from Rochdale.
Yes.
And where'd you go to high school?
I went to St. John's Prep, so it was definitely a journey to get to school, at least 2 hours.
Yeah, from Southeast Queens all the way up to North Queens. Yeah, absolutely.
It was rough.
Oh, I can't even imagine. And then college?
And then college, I went to a series of college and then like went to college, dropped out, and then went back.
Nothing wrong
but
with
I graduated from Hunter.
Different roads as long as you get to the finish line.
Indeed, indeed.
And when you graduated from Hunter, what was your degree in?
In urban youth culture.
And what exactly is that?
So urban, meaning,
obviously.
you know.
Of the city.
Of the city, but also meaning people of color. Youth, young people, and culture, the culture that we create. So the reason I created that very specific degree.
Oh, wait, you created this major?
Yes.
Yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like one of one.
Okay.
It does not exist outside of the entity that I've created, yes.
Right.
So the reason I created it was when I went back to school, I was, you know, working on a lot of projects, and I realized that people look at urban youth culture from a top-down approach rather than a bottom-up, so to speak. So I live in an urban community, I'm young, and I create culture. So I always felt like it would be interesting to study my peers.
Right.
So that's why I created that major.
So you put a microscope basically on your peers.
Absolutely, absolutely, and took heed to the things that they were creating on a regular basis, and the power that they have.
You just mentioned something I find very interesting, top down versus bottom up.
Yes.
I do notice that by the time that we're looking from the top down, whatever it is in media or in culture or in enculturation is already saturated.
Indeed.
But when you're looking from the bottom up, what happens?
You're creating it.
Right.
Like you might be the only person that knows about it. It's interesting. One of my favorite authors, Malcolm Gladwell, talks about it in his book, The Tipping Point. Like what happens when these kids in the Lower East Side started wearing hush puppies.
Right.
And it's happening in neighborhood near you all the time. You know, these young people are coming up with these new phrases and wearing their clothes in a different type of capacity. So they're consistently creating things, which I think is beautiful.
And they are on another level culture creators.
Indeed.
Culture creators with artifacts, I guess, with your clothing, expressing your culture through your clothing and making the trends.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we put you in that category as well because you're making the trends.
Cool beans.
I love that. So let's get back to your community work for just a moment because you've done a lot. When you were 17, how'd you get started in your community?
So when I was 17, I saw some young people on polo.com that looked like me, which is not something that happens often.
And polo.com is Ralph Lauren's line of clothing.
Right. Absolutely. So I did something I don't normally do. I called, at 17 years old, I called the Polo corporate office, and they connected me to like a few different people who then connected me to a guy by the name of Divine Bradley, who was head of an organization called Team Revolution, and his organization was responsible for those young people being on polo.com. So I spoke to him, and the first thing he asked me was, "Are you ready to change the world?"
Really?
Which is something like, I just want to be down with polo. I didn't start up all of this other
clothing,
stuff.
maybe get a discount.
Exactly, exactly. But he said that, and I said, sure.
Right.
But with his organization, it was a fellowship program component in which you had to do service. So it was there that I learned about like social entrepreneurship and the importance of giving more instead of giving back, right? So giving more meaning aligning your passion and with a cause that you're interested in, right? So for me, it was fashion. And
it looks like it still is, but go ahead.
I mean, a little bit. So with that, you know, over time, I created my organization called The Sweet Life, which helps young people find their superpower, and I just hopped all into service. The first community service project that I ever did was a mural.
Where was that?
In Brooklyn. It's in Canarsie on 87th and Flatlands, if I'm not mistaken.
What's the mural of? How did you organize that or create it?
Yes, so that was the interesting thing. When you're just doing the work and you just want to do the work, I had no clue that you needed a theme. So I literally got like 10 legendary graffiti artists, and they just came up and did what they did, and on the top of the mural it says the best way to predict the future is to create it.
Is it still there today?
Yeah, it's still there today. So
in Canarsie, so we can go and look. Okay.
Absolutely. So that was like the beginning, and then specifically in Queens, I was working with the legendary Erica Ford.
Life Camp
Inc. Changed my life.
Also in Jamaica, Queens.
Definitely in Jamaica, Queens.
For those people who aren't familiar with Life Camp, LIFE, what is it? What do they do?
So
What's their mission?
So Life Camp basically takes young people, specifically but not limited to South Jamaica, Queens, and transforms them. And I'm definitely a representation of that. Like,
How so?
in many ways, Erica ran an entrepreneurship program in which she would bring people from every aspect to us. So we met with lawyers, head marketing people. We learned how to write business plans, so on and so forth. We also created I Love My Life campaign, because specifically at that time, a lot of young people were getting killed. So we decided to do something about it. And we would go to, you know, different organizations, churches, schools, and, you know, talk about the senseless violence that was happening in the community and what we can do as young people to combat that.
So young people helping young people get out of violence.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And
It's powerful.
yeah, and then providing them with a positive alternative. So yes, the work that Life Camp and Erica Ford has been doing for the last 20 plus years is definitely still impactful today as it was when I was a teenager.
And then Teen Revolution, and it led to your organization, Sweet Life.
Yes, yes. So at the end of the Teen Revolution Fellowship Academy, we got to create a jacket with Ralph Lauren, which was really, really cool.
Do you still have yours?
Yeah, he offered
Great.
me a job from that, which I felt like was amazing opportunity.
Absolutely.
You know, Ralph
I'm sure
Lauren.
they don't just pass those out.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
especially
huge.
him saying it to me, which was, you know, a really cool opportunity. But from Teen Revolution's Fellowship Academy, I created my organization called The Sweet Life.
And it's SWT
Yes,
Life.
yes, yes.
And
it's-
what is that?
So The Sweet Life helps young people find their superpower.
Okay, find their superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. So the superpower is, I believe that when you find your passion, your purpose, and your strengths, you move through the world differently. And that's your superpower.
Part of the Sweet Life is you go out and you address young people. You do public speaking as well. Is that part of it?
Absolutely. So the Sweet Life has focused on a conversation. So it's a one-day event in which it's a conversation around passion, purpose, and strengths. And basically what it looks like, we get life coaches and we get astrologers, and we get these challenges created by really major companies, Apple, Google, etc. And then we pick very specific young people. So it's not necessarily the young people that are have 100 averages in school. I wanted the kids that talked the most in the lunchroom, or the kids that were constantly getting in trouble, but everybody knew them. So the young people that participated in the program, everybody was nominated, and we had like one day. And at the end of the day, they had to create a project. And after that, over the next 30 days, we supported them in implementing that
Their
project.
projects.
Absolutely.
Wow. Did they all implement successfully?
We
most of
had
them?
we had like 15 out of 17, which I feel
that's
like
huge
was a
compliance.
great,
Yeah.
absolutely, it was
That
a
is
big
great.
deal.
And
Indeed.
are you still working with the Sweet Life, SWT?
Yes, the Sweet Life has definitely evolved, because my personal message is that of the Sweet Life now. You know, it's sharing with young people how to find your superpower, the commodification of urban culture, you know, social entrepreneurship. All of these things come out of the Sweet Life, no question.
And you've also collaborated on 2 books.
Yes.
Which books were those?
Yes. So it was Stand Up,
Stand Up.
which recently came out, and creating.
That one, Stand Up, are you featured, or did you write a chapter, or both?
Yeah, so I wrote a chapter. That book features the book encompasses 75 young people around the world.
And what's your chapter about?
It's called My Sweet Life.
Okay.
So it's about this event that we had and what it looks like when a young person lives their sweet life.
Nice.
So yeah,
And
that
it was just
cool.
kind of a recap of the SWT Sweet Life event.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And then another book as well that you were featured in,
Yes, Creating Innovators.
Creating Innovators. And
Yes.
what was that chapter, or what was that about? Mention.
Well, I was featured in that book by Tony Wagner, who is a big
author?
deal at Harvard. Absolutely. He wrote
wow.
The Global Achievement Gap, which was on the New York Times bestseller list. And that chapter, he kind of came into my world in terms of the people that influenced me to become the person that I am today. So he interviewed my mother, 2 of my mentors, Erica Ford,
Right.
and another young man by the name of Daniel Silverbaker. He's the guy who called me to run the Ministers of Culture program,
Right.
in which I decided to be a culture creator. So yeah, he did those interviews and he did a write-up of me in the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've got those 2 books under your belt.
Absolutely.
And you also won an award with Points of Light Foundation?
Yes.
What is Points of Light and what award did you win?
So Points of Light sheds light
Okay.
on people around the world that are doing phenomenal things in terms of community service.
And it originally came out of the 1,000 Points of Light, George
Correct.
Bush,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And so those
Correct.
1,000 Points of Light are supposed to affect change.
Indeed.
And that's winning the award.
Indeed.
So how has that affected your life, winning a Points of Light award?
I mean, it's just an honor. I'm
Absolutely.
really thrilled and grateful to have Points of Light and acknowledge me for the work that I've been doing. So I'm like super grateful, and it's always beautiful when you do the work to not it's always beautiful when you do the work and you don't hope to get acknowledged for it, right?
You just do it because you do it.
You do it just because you love it or it needs to be done.
Right.
But when you get acknowledged, it's really a big deal. So
Yeah.
I'm completely honored.
Absolutely. And lastly, tell me about Glamour Magazine's 20 Best and Brightest Under 25.
Absolutely. Glamour Magazine came, it was kind
Out
of
of left
crazy.
field?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You
but
weren't expecting it.
at all. Like I was applying for jobs during that time.
Right.
And then they called me the next day and told me I won Glamour Magazine Top 20 Under 25. And I'm like, I'm never applying for another job ever again. So that was like a really big deal. Oprah winked at me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
You know, she don't
Oh
be
my
winking at
gosh,
everybody.
She doesn't have time to. If she got to 6 of the 20,
Indeed.
you know, that's a lot.
Yes, yes.
So that was 20 Best Under 25 at what? For what?
Everybody was doing different types of
Thanks.
community work. Absolutely.
And your shout out was for?
The Sweet Life, running the Sweet Life and getting 500 young people tested for HIV.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And was that right here in Queens?
That was in Brooklyn. I was partnered with the organization called SAFE, in which Daniel was the coordinator for at that time. And we came together and we got a few hundred young people tested, which
That's
is
tremendous.
really amazing. Yeah.
It's life-changing, life-affecting.
Indeed.
And speaking of life-affecting, now that we've spoken about the 2 other books that you are mentioned in, after getting mention after mention and getting a wink from Oprah, which is huge.
You know, I'm on her heels.
Creating Innovation, that was the second book, right?
Yes.
And so then you sat down and you wrote your own book,
Yes.
Just Because.
Yes.
This is it right here.
Yes.
Tell
ma'am.
me about Just Because.
Just because happened because it's what I needed when I was 17 when I was creating the Sweet Life.
Okay. What you needed, how? How so?
Just in terms of there was no one place that I can go to find out, not only find out more about social entrepreneurship, but guide me through social entrepreneurship. So I needed to know about business models and how do I move when my friends don't get it, or how to continue when people tell me no, or
Overcoming adversity.
Absolutely.
Seeking out help from different peers.
Absolutely, like how to utilize the resources that I have to move forward. So many different things. So I started thinking about what it is that I needed very specifically. And then, you know, I felt like because I would never produce an album, I would write a book, right?
Okay. Why would you say you would never produce an album? I don't get that.
I mean, just because I'm not I rap other people's lyrics, but
Right.
I'm not a rapper.
Okay.
Right? So I felt like the next best thing I could do was to create a book.
Okay, so in lieu of rapping,
Indeed.
let's.
Just because happened.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it was needed. So I reached out. I'm one to always do things in community. And I'm a firm believer that teamwork makes the dream work every time.
And this is a collaborative effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's basically like chicken soup for social change.
Right.
It's 32 people, 33 including myself, that shared their stories of basically every chapter. Why the creating the work-life balance.
Right.
Like I said, how to move forward when your friends don't understand the work you're doing, how to
That's
find
difficult.
your passion. It's so many different things that they touch on. I'm really honored that all those contributors said yes.
How
They
do
are
you
like a
move
big
forward
deal.
when your friends aren't on board? Do you find different friends or do you find a new board?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, sometimes as you grow, your friends grow.
Right.
And you generate new friends because
Based
of
on
the
that
work
growth,
that you're doing.
right.
Absolutely. But sometimes you have to tell your friends, all right, I'm going to go do this real quick. Stay there. I'll be back. So, you know, it's a dichotomy of different things that happens when your friends don't necessarily understand why you have to do a proposal that's due on Sunday morning when they want to go out Saturday night.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so some of the people you've collaborated in this book, people we would know?
Absolutely. So Michael Kajanapakorn, he created a company called Skillshare. It's basically
Right.
a marketplace to learn anything. Pamela Halsley, the founder of Global Giving, supranational organization. Eddie, who was the executive director of Public Allies, which is a AmeriCorps program. So we literally have people in the book from age 16 to 60, and that are heads of nonprofit organizations, corporations, people that have done projects, so on and so forth. So it's like
People who inspire the next generation of change makers.
yes,
So that would be young people, obviously.
yeah,
Putting all of their work together in one collection.
absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about the book, not just because I wrote it, but because you don't have to read it straight through. Like, it's the type of book, if you just want to know about business models, just go to that chapter. If you just want to know about how to create the work-life balance, or how to be a resource, or how to be good to other people, just read those specific chapters. So I think that's kind of cool.
And it's also very accessible in that aspect. It's not your traditional novel in the sense that you feel that you've got to trudge through chapter after chapter.
Absolutely. And then you hear drastically different people's opinions and voices. The contributors consist of every economic, social, and ethnic background. So it's not like super one-sided. You definitely, it's a mixing pot. You get everybody's voice in there.
Again, you get that view from above and that view from below.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know that Les Brown has put out books like this as well, collaborative books.
Indeed.
What was your muse behind this?
I didn't really want to write the whole thing by myself.
And she's honest too.
Yeah, but I'm also a firm believer. Everything that I've ever created has been created through community.
In collaboration.
Absolutely. So I know my voice is important, but my friends' voices are important as well. So I wanted to just create a space where their voices can be heard, essentially.
Wow. And that's this.
That's just because.
Just because.
Yes.
So just because, aha moments to inspire the next generation of change makers.
Yes.
We like it. And so you're a change maker. What's next for you?
So what's next?
Let's just back up for a moment. You've won awards, a Point of Light.
Yes.
You've got a wink from Oprah.
Yeah.
You've been into collaboration books, and you've written your own.
Yeah.
You have an organization, The Sweet Life.
Yes.
You're a culture creator.
Yes.
What could possibly be next on the road? And you mentioned staying in your lane. So what's next on your in your HOV?
Indeed. So that was nice. That was nice. So
Every now and again it happens.
Yeah. So what's next? I'm working on a documentary film around hip hop and journalism and what that looks like.
Hip hop in journalism?
Hip hop
Explain.
and journalism. So
Explain.
basically, if it wasn't for someone like Dream Hampton, who wrote Jay-Z's first review on Reasonable Doubt, what we think about Jay-Z would be drastically different. So the people that create the language for how we receive hip-hop, those people, your Dream Hamptons, your Greg Tates, your Nelson Georges, your Joan Morgans, these people that have shaped the culture through their written word. And a lot of times, you know, we love our rapper, but we have to think about our favorite rapper's favorite writer.
Right. Okay. So the editorials behind rap.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely
And how
is
they
another
shape
one.
our view of rap.
Indeed, indeed. Or of hip hop culture, the totality, outside of the music. So it's like the different things that are happening in the community and a variety of things. So this kind of like idea of the hip hop journalist.
Right.
So that's one of the things that's
Where did the hip hop journalist come from? Is that like Vibe magazine, or is it just across the board?
I mean, it could be across the board. The Village Voice is one of the places that housed all of these writers before they branched out to like the Source magazine, the XXL, or Vibe magazine. So it's just kind of like a genre of
hip-hop
people.
writer?
Yeah, if you will. They're writers first who happen to be in love with hip hop, that were able to articulate the culture when people could they couldn't fathom the culture, at the least articulate it. So that's what's next, that documentary.
So they're writers through the prism of hip hop.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then the work that they've created.
So there's
and
that
contributed
documentary,
to the
which
work.
must be huge. and very time consuming. And what else?
Just speaking around the country and the world.
Where are you speaking next?
Where am I speaking next? Probably, I think I have something in my schedule for New York City next weekend.
Okay.
But I need to not be
Iron
in New
that
York
out.
City soon.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed. So definitely more speaking, the documentary, working on history meets hip hop, in which, you know, I bridge the gap. I am the bridge between history and hip hop, but curating that into like a genre. So yeah, those are like a few things.
A bridge with a wide span, kind of like the Verrazano. Okay. We like that. All right, just because, where can we get more information about you, Syreeta Gates?
SyreetaGates.com.
Spell that for us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Oh, and
No
while
problem.
I'm thinking about your name, who were you named after?
Syreeta Wright, who was
Who
a
is?
singer and Stevie Wonder's first wife.
Right,
Yes.
Aisha's mom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Syreeta Gates,
Yes.
you, not Syreeta, Aisha's mom.
Correct. Correct.
Syreeta Gates, we can get you at SyreetaGates.com. Where
Yes,
can people
ma'am.
email you? What?
Yeah, SyreetaGates.com. Everything is there. Contact
Okay.
information.
Great. We can Facebook you. We can follow you on Twitter, Instagram.
Sure. Instagram, The Gates of Life. Twitter, Syreeta Gates.
And
everything.
what's the name of your blog?
The blog is called The Purple Pack. I love Wildberry Skittles. Like, so if people want to send me Wildberry Skittles, I absolutely take those.
We're not allowed to solicit on public television, but it's
I'm
okay.
saying. But, yeah,
But I think because
Wildberry
it's
Skittles.
purple Skittles, it might pass.
Yeah, so the blog is called The Purple Pack, which is
And
on
that's also on
SyreetaGates.com.
Syreeta Gates.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we can follow you there. We can read a little bit more about you. We can get inside your head with the
Yes.
purple.
Yes, with
Yes.
the purple. Yeah, and I'm Aquarius. It works out. You
Okay,
know?
when's your birthday? Just give us the date.
February 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and of course we'll see you next on the with what you're working on now.
Absolutely.
The documentary. Is it
Absolutely.
more of a documentary?
It's definitely a documentary. Yeah.
Okay. And you'll also be coming to a community center near us to speak hopefully
Yes,
one day.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great. Where if you could speak anywhere in the world, where would it be? Quickly.
Pineapples on Mars?
In the world.
Oh, in the world.
This world,
let's
not
just
Mars.
go out of this world and speak to people that don't exist. I would love to go to Chicago and speak.
Really? Why Chicago?
Because Chicago is rich in culture. And Chicago needs it. Like, young people are dying out there in Chicago, or getting killed in Chicago. So I need to be where the people are. And I feel like Chicago, I would love to go to Chicago. I'm down to go anywhere. Arkansas, Ohio. Well, I've been to Ohio. But I'm down to go anywhere on the planet.
Okay. Well, you
speak.
put it out there and
Yes.
people will come.
Yes.
Syreeta,
indeed.
it's been so much fun sitting
Thank you.
down
I
with you.
appreciate it.
I so appreciate you coming on Communication Corner.
Thank you.
One more time, SyreetaGates.com, and
Yes,
just
ma'am.
spell your name for everybody.
SYREETA Gates GATES.com.
Okay, and we can totally follow you and get behind you, and
Absolutely.
and we'll find out more about the book there too.
Yes, please.
Okay, the book is Just Because, Aha Moments to Inspire the Next Generation of Change Makers,
Yes.
edited by our own Syreeta Gates, here on Communication Corner, joining us this evening. Thanks, Syreeta.
Thank you. It's
I
a pleasure.
appreciate you coming on. It's always fun to sit down with someone as fun as you.
Anytime.
And of course, as fabulous and fashionosity as well.
I try.
Thanks for joining us here on Communication Corner, everyone. My name's Gail Lewis. Email me, newday2010@yahoo.com. Hit me up, and we'll chat. Thanks again to Syreeta Gates, and we're going to see you again here on Communication Corner real soon. Thanks, everybody.
I already been the king, retroact, I'm just bringing it back like Jordan packs, new money, they looking down on me, blue bloods, they trying to clown on me, you can turn the